millions of people around the country who have come in from abroad to make our country better. And so when we're talking about immigration, when we're talking about immigration, Lee, let's not slag off whole tranches of our population, because you don't need to do that. Let's have a grown-up conversation about it.
Let's be grown up. People have not come into this country to make our country better. They've come into this country. No, they haven't. They haven't, Matthew. They've come into this country to make their lives better.
Well, two things can be true at the same time. The people who helped my dad die a dignified death and helped me change his pads when he was dying from asbestos poisoning.
Where were they from?
They were all of them, to a man and a woman from other countries.
Which countries? Which countries?
Mostly African countries.
So why aren't they stopping in their own country to help their own people?
Because presumably the pay is better here, and because people here aren't doing it.
You've just answered the argument.
Yes, but they're also helping us, Lee.
Matthew, what we're doing?
They are giving us labour.
We are brain draining countries like Africa, India and the subcontinent, and we're taking their best doctors, their surgeons, their nurses, and we're bringing them over here, and it is wrong.
And why are we doing it?
These people should stay in their own country and help their own country develop and get better.
Ideally, absolutely agree with you. But in order for that to happen, because you are somebody who wants to look after British interests first,
yes, I do.
As am I, in order for that to happen, we have to have people who are prepared to do those sorts of jobs. And I'm not just talking about doctors here. I'm talking about people who are prepared to change the pads of our parents when they are dying. And if we don't have those people, or if we're not paying them enough, right, then we're going to have to bring people in from abroad.
We don't. We've got millions of people in this country economically inactive, on the dole, doing nothing, sat at home all day watching TV.
Get those people back into work?
Stop the benefits, Matthew.
So if you're not in higher education or healthcare, this might not be something that you're coming across, but other countries are recruiting hard. I'm talking Canada, Ireland, Australia, New Zealand. They are advertising for highly trained professionals, researchers, academics, nurses, those are the professions that I'm aware of and that I've seen ads for and news clips for, but they are recruiting those people from the United States, whether they be American and they're seeking to leave the United States for the first time, to move elsewhere outside and find a permanent home, or they're also recruiting the international community that is really represented in the academic community. So if you don't know, a lot of professors and academics in the United States happen to come from other countries, because prior to the Trump administration, and still it's not collapsed yet, but we had and have one of the strongest higher education systems in the world. And that comes down to this public-private partnership, or rather a compact that the federal government has with higher education in the United States, whether those higher education institutions be public, like the University of California, where I go, or private, and those are typically your Ivies, so private, that are private, like Harvard, Yale, Stanford, Princeton, and many, many other schools. Whether they're public or private, so many universities rely on federal research funding, and federal research funding is, I don't have the statistics, but arguably the most significant source of funding other than undergraduate tuition in the United States. And without it, research would not happen the way that it does and the way that it has for decades. And so the way that the Trump administration has attacked research funding is devastating for American innovation in terms of the drugs that are not going to be developed, the science that's not going to happen, the social science that's not going to take place, the community engagement that will no longer take place to inform the types of research that is done, because that's also a really important step in the research process. All of that is going to be a lot harder to do with the lack of funding that's coming through all of these cuts. And so all of these other countries, English-speaking countries, I'm not seeing India on there, but really all the other large English-speaking countries around the world, I am seeing heavily recruit academics, and I'm a graduate student, so I see that in particular, but also healthcare professionals, and I've been seeing this since the inauguration, essentially. So for about the past 5 months, just other countries are really taking advantage of the opportunity, and they want to create the best education systems in the world in their country. Unless we do something soon, unless something happens soon to address the way that the administration is cutting research funding, it's possible that that might happen, because our system is really, really being crippled, and it's really unfortunate that so many young and upcoming scientists, in addition to the funding that's being cut for senior scientists and tenured faculty, the incredible lack of funding that's going to go towards training undergraduates, towards training graduate students, it's going to have a major impact on the field in the United States. And so other countries are stepping up to fill that gap. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in higher education over the next 4 to 10 years.
3 professors, including Timothy Snyder, are leaving Yale University for University of Toronto because of Trump. And I want to talk about the emerging brain drain for the United States and what it means. Timothy Snyder, whose outstanding work I've known for decades now, because one of the things he's studied is how people like my grandparents, aunts, and uncles were killed in Ukraine during World War II, is really going into exile. He's a Trump critic, prominent Trump critic, and he's worried about what would happen to him if he stayed. Rightly so. But he and the other 2 Yale professors aren't the only ones who are leaving. Science professors are leaving as well because Donald Trump is dramatically cutting science funding in the United States. And that brain drain is going to have significant negative implications for the U.S. economy because for 80 years, the U.S. economy has been built on brain gain. People from all over the world, scientists, engineers coming from all over the world to study here and work here. We are the world's most powerful economy because we are the innovation nation. But when scientists start to leave here, when we have a brain drain, we're no longer going to be leaders in innovation. We'll no longer have the world's most powerful economy. When you aspire to be like Russia in terms of your government, when you aspire to be like Hungary in terms of your government, which is what Donald Trump aspires for the United States, you start to have a Russian and Hungarian economy. Take a look at what those economies are like. Russia and Hungary, not so surprisingly, have brain drain. Hundreds of thousands of Russians leave every year. Tens of thousands of Hungarians flee every year. Among them, the best and brightest in their nations. Our GDP per capita is around number 7 in the world. Where is Hungary's? Around number 46. Where is Russia's? Around 67th. That's our future. That's our future because of Donald Trump.